Right, welcome everyone to our BComm class of 1978 40-year reunion. I'm Brian Conroy. Quite a few of you may know me. I'm a member of the organising committee, which has comprised myself, Kevin Lawler, Elaine Ahern from the Alumni office, and I've been requested just to say a few words. First of all, many thanks to Maeve, the Dean of the business here, and also Philip Burke and indeed John Teeling I'll be mentioning in a moment in a couple of contexts. In advance of our 45-year reunion, we are very keen to get better data, and so there are lists available of attendees and contact details outside, and we'd be grateful if people could confirm their details, because these details will be used solely for the purposes of ongoing alumni events. This is an amazing attendance. We were not far from 90 from 40 years ago. Many more would have come, but if they hadn't had other commitments. And in contacting people over the last few months about the event, there's been a great palpable feeling of camaraderie, friendship and positivity. And in these terms, it was a great class of 1978, and I must say I thoroughly enjoyed the degree. John Teeling will be giving us a guest lecture for old times, and I see Fergal Mulcrone has made it here, and I'm delighted he has, and just wanted to thank him for the Trojan job that he's done in previous reunions. He's really been tremendous, and unfortunately he had other commitments this time. But when I mentioned that John Teeling was coming, Fergal laughed, and he said, well, in fact, he'd been trying to get John to come to talk at Foxrock Golf Club, and so he suggested this to John, and John said, well, no, I'm afraid if you want me to do that, you need to get hold of my agent, and it sort of starts from $3,000 upwards. And so Fergal was somewhat horrified and retorted, but surely you do it for UCD. And John very correctly and properly said, well, UCD is different, and so in that context Fergal was unfortunately unsuccessful in getting John on board on the freebie. The next thing, I was just going to throw up some recollections that I have of things that happened when we were here. And sorry, I'll be as quick as I can, but I just was asked to say a few words, so I just wanted to cover a couple of things. Ronan Lochlann reminded me of Freshers Week when engineering students came into our class with a hose of water and proceeded to drowse us all down. And so anyway, a battalion of BComm students went and caught the guy who had the nozzle that was doing most of the spraying, and we took him down to the front, and John Teeling said, right, son, that's it, let's have your identity card. And out he handed his card to John, and John proceeded to tap him on the head with it, and he said, off, you're coming now to the registrar. And the chap actually then replied, no, you've just assaulted me. So in the circumstances he had to actually be let go, so he got away scot-free, and I'm afraid that was engineers 10, Christians 0 in terms of the BComm students. Another reflection I had, Kevin Lawler, who's been, I mentioned, was on the committee, and he was recollecting the time that we were in an LG, and Gay Goulding was the lecturer, and there was a chap up the back decided he was going to depart a little early and started to slide out, and Gay proceeded to jump off the pedestal, ran up the steps and rugby tackled the guy to the ground, and said actually, you're not, my lecture's still in progress, and under no circumstances should you be leaving. So that was another occasion, and I had just a few other things. Peter Markey called me, in fact, this week. I'd been trying to get hold of him just to make sure he knew about it, and he's been living in Australia for many years, but the last 14 years he's living in Shanghai, and so he just basically commented to me that he was back for the 25-year reunion of our BComm, and when he walked into the room he actually thought he was the wrong place, as everybody looked too old, and in his mind's eye everybody was young and handsome, but the vast majority of people he hadn't actually met in the preceding 25 years. So it did just occur to me that it's likely after 40 years we'll all have this experience in some way. And Peter went on to comment that his favourite recollection of the BComm was having a very enjoyable time in university, and the college experience having been so much better than when he was at school. So just moving on to our lecturers, we had an amazing cross-section, and at one end of the scale we had a great exponent of entrepreneurship in John Teeling, and Michael Feary reminded me at the other end recently, Harry Harrison. And Harry Harrison stated it was a certainty that IBM would never be challenged by any other computer company. So that's proved to be a little bit wrong. And all will remember, I'm sure, waiting on the IBM 360, which was the state-of-the-art computer, to give results on the first commerce marketing game, which we all partook in. So it's incredible how things have moved on. Just a few other points. I'm delighted to see that all the other members of the team that... Whoops. I've lost we're back. I'm delighted that all the members of the group I was in, there was Michael Feary, Michael Madigan, Kevin Ole, Ronan Lochlann. I'm delighted to see that they're all here, and I hope other groups are equally have a number of members. And Michael Madigan just reminisced with me when I was asking any recollections he had. He said one abiding memory was Gillian Woods being dressed to the nines, arriving in late to John Teeling's lecture, and John giving her a terrible ribbon. And he also mentioned another occasion where an election speech was given by one Brian Conroy to be elected class rep. So it's a long time ago, but brings back memories. Just continuing talking to many class members over the last few months, it's apparent that sports played a major role in creating and sustaining friendships, from rugby, soccer, tennis and other sports through to swimming. And I was one of a group trying to get a swimming pool on campus here and failed miserably when I was on the Athletic Union Council, which I got elected to. And in fact the cause for the swimming pool was sunk by Joe McHale, who at the time was a very powerful man in the college, and in fact he basically scuppered the proposals, and that was just an unfortunate situation. But he subsequently amazingly became my chairman of businesses in England for 22 years. So it was funny how connections tied one thing to another. I'm just going to make some final points about remembrance of things past to where we are today. From 1978 to 2018, the changes and developments in UCD in Ireland have been extraordinary. And just a couple of brief points in the interest of brevity over longevity. Just a couple of things will be interesting now, I think. Firstly, a gender snapshot. In 1978, females comprised 17% of our year, males 83%. Sorry, that's... beg your pardon. In the case, forgive me, I'm thrown out by the mobile there. Going back to where I was, in our year, 1978, females were 17%, males were 83%. In 2018, females comprise 64%, and males comprise 36%. So it's an absolutely dramatic change. And also within UCD here, there's two most... just a couple of other points and I'm just finished. The international student snapshot. In 1978 there was one. In 2018 there's 121. And the two most common surnames in 78 were Doyle and O'Connor, and in 2018 there's Zhang and Lee. The saying a picture tells 1,000 words, I believe, is emulated in the above statistics, which our lecturer in National Economics, James Meenan, would have eloquently delivered. I want to especially thank Kevin Lawler for the huge amount of work and time he's devoted to organising this reunion, and Elaine Ahern of the Alumni Office. Kevin and I will be signing a special appeal letter to our class of 1978 with a special focus on supporting business students in financial need on behalf of the UCD Foundation and the team leader Nicola Myrna. And in conclusion, I just want to mention our classmates who have died. They comprise Robert McMahon, Barry McIntyre, Conor Mangan, Fergus Monley, Bill Mulvey and Pádraig O'Connell. May they rest in peace. Thank you very much for your time.